your cash was in a stock, you could sell it, but you took pennies for your dollars in the stock market at that point.
You bought it for 100, you're selling it for 70.
You were.
Yeah.
Optimistically, probably 50. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you had some cash, you always want to make sure. A few of my ABC rules. Number one, if you have liabilities because of family, you have mortgage, you have kids, make sure you're insured. It's cheap when just do it.
Yeah.
You need to do it. It is an investment, okay? Might not make any money, but it's complete protection from the downside. Two, first asset you want to accumulate is cash. You absolutely want it. You need it. And then when you have enough, when you have that bit, now you have cash to invest and to put that down payment on a 4-family flat, S&P index, some sort of investment. If your advisor's not talking to you about cash, where you're getting it from, what happens if you walk home and you realize the stack's leaking, that the roof fell off the house, whatever, you need to know where that's coming from, and it needs to be done without causing you to sell another asset.
To write a big check for something like that is a pain in the neck. But to not have the money to fix it is a life changer.
Yeah, that's where panic, anxiety, stress, right through the roof. And you always need some. And I would tell you, if your financial professional, planner, et cetera, is not talking to you about cash, where it is, where it's coming from, and you don't know, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
If the plan is, well, my cash that comes from my Visa card that's got a $10,000 limit on it, I would tell you, you need some hard cash.
Yeah, exactly.
That Visa with the 10,000 limit, that's when you're driving out to take your family to Colorado and the transmission falls out 40 miles west of Topeka.
Yeah.
That's what the Visa card money's there for.
Now you have no choice.
Put on Visa, it's great. It's
right.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it can't be your emergency cash.
Dave Ramsey's a big proponent of having the cash. And I've always been that way too, because again, if the furnace goes out in the wintertime and you got to buy, we had our furnace go out this winter and it was a pain in the neck. They came in, they jury rigged something up so they got us some heat, and they came in and said, yeah, your furnace we could paste it together, but in a year it's going to go bad again. Oh, and by the way, your air conditioners are not in good shape too. That'll be $10,000. I thought, damn it. I don't want to pay $10,000 for a furnace.
Right.
But we did because, I mean, we don't have a fireplace. We're not going to heat. You got to have a furnace. All right. But we had it. Now, if I didn't have the money, you have two choices. You freeze and your pipes break, or you go into debt.
Yeah.
And if you go into $10,000 debt, that's a lot of debt.
That's a lot of debt for something that you shouldn't have to go into debt for.
That's correct. And that stuff's going to happen. Transmissions are going to go out. Furnaces are going to go out. It's just going to happen. You have to have that rainy day money.
You have to have it. And I've also told people, this has changed in lending. It used to be the bank, the lending institution, would not lend you any money unless you could afford it. Now they'll lend you money as long as you can buy it. And there's a huge difference. So if you have $1,500 in the bank and you can qualify for this mortgage, they'll sell you the house. You're going to buy it. You're going to sign all the papers. You're going to own it. And when that furnace goes out 8 months into ownership and it's $5,000, you got a problem.
Yeah.
So it's better to wait. It's always better to wait so you can really afford it, not buy it.
As long as you're going down that path, buying stuff, buying houses, buying real estate. I'm not talking about real estate for an investment.
Real estate you're going to live in.
That's exactly right. I've always told my boys, don't buy a house unless you love it and this is where you want to raise your family, and there's a good chance you'll live there forever. Not definitely, but don't buy it for a air quotes investment. Because
the chance of you making money on it is really small. People want to tell you, oh, I paid $125,000 for that house. I sold it for $300,000. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I made $200,000 on it.
No, you didn't. Okay.
First of all, you have an embedded 4 to 6% loss when you sell it because you're going to pay a real estate commission. 95% of people will pay that.
Yes.
You made 20, 15, 20, 25, 30 years worth of payments. You pay $125 for it. You paid a total of whatever the total of payments was.
Correct.
And then once it was paid, did you keep paying property tax?
Of course you did.
Of course you did. Did you pay homeowners insurance? Yes. Did you do any maintenance? Maybe you're like, no, still the original kitchen and bathrooms and all this. Did you ever paint? Did you buy carpet? Did you buy an appliance?
Did you put a roof on it?
Did you put a roof on? Did the sink leak? Did the toilet leak? Did you fix it? Of course you did. So your actual cost in that house is way higher. Now, my wife and I own a house, and we raised 4 kids in it. And I would recommend it to anybody doing that.
Yes.
A lot of security in it. I don't have to worry about the land. A lot of reasons to own it.
Yeah.
But then I'm going to actually make money on it? No, it's a good forced savings. But the thing is, Strong, you own a house, right?
I do.
And when you sell it, are you and the trophy wife moving into a tent and living in a state park?
No, we're buying another house.
Right. You need to buy somewhere else to live. Or if you don't buy, you're going to rent.
That's exactly
You
right.
will have a housing expense permanently.
Correct.
You just will.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I have one son who said, I'd like to buy a house, but what if I decide I want to get a job across the country?
That's right.
Now I got to sell the house.
Well, and if you're a single guy.
And he's a single guy.
Yeah, I had the same thought when I was a single guy.
Yeah. The 3 married kids have houses. But a married man and a single man are different.
Different. Vastly different. They have different commitments, priorities. They have different outlooks. Single guy buying a house?
I bought a house when I was single. But I bought a house when I was single knowing I would be getting married in the fairly near future. So I bought that as a precursor of things to come.
Sure. And the other thing that happens, though, is you have a generation, a lot of boomers, some of them did make money on houses because they bought their house, interest rates were 12%, women were just starting to come into the workforce. And over the next 25, 30 years, interest rates steadily declined. Incomes went up because more women worked, more women got non-menial jobs, so household incomes went, so there's more spendable dollars. You're at almost a 5,000 year low on interest rates. I mean, they're historically low. Yeah. They're very, very, very low. So they can't go down much.
Right.
So you're in this situation. I just don't think it's a good, buy a house for many, many reasons. But don't buy it because you think you're going to make money on it.
You touched on low interest rates. I have to ask you this question then too, because I've had a lot of people say, why interest rates are at historic lows. So why not buy more house than I need, more house than maybe I can afford?
Right.
Do you really want to do that?
You're heating and cooling it and paying taxes on it 24/7. Look at the property tax on that house you're looking at today. Then go back in the county property and look at what it was 10 years ago. It's probably doubled or come close to doubling. Yeah. Now ask yourself, do you think it's going to double again in 10 years? And I would say, why wouldn't it? Because government can.
You don't think the government would be just a nice guy and say, you know what, let's give the folks a break and drop their taxes?
We'll just hold them flat the next 10 years.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen.
No, it does not happen. So again, it's about living in your means. I grew up, Strong, in, it wouldn't be considered a huge house by today's huge house standards.
Well, but you had a big family.
It was big. It was a 5,000 square foot house, but my mom and dad had 8 kids.
Exactly.
8 kids. When I would go to that house, when it was just my mom and dad living there and my youngest sister was at college, and I'd go over, it's just a big empty house.
Yeah.
You still heat it, you still cool it, you maintain the grounds, you do all this. I was talking to a guy a week or two ago, very wealthy guy, lives in a 15,000 square foot house on 5 acres. It's him, his wife, and 2 kids. He would love to get rid of that house. He goes, you wouldn't believe the upkeep and just everything. And I'm sure the house is in excellent condition.
Sure.
But it's just a lot of overhead and a lot of work all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, it is.
So interest rates are low. Should I buy a bigger house? I think you should buy a house that works for your family and that serves you. And what about the value in having a lower house payment? I think there's a lot of value in that. I remember when my mom and dad bought this house, my dad worked, my mom was stay home. And the house payment, this was in the early 70s, the house payment was $200 a month.
Wow.
And that was one reason they bought it, because Mama said, well, I know if anything happens to Papa, I can find $200 a month.
Right. So the kids have a place to lay their head.
They will have a place to sleep if something happens to Dad. So how much peace of mind is that, knowing that, yeah, I've got this house payment every month. It's an expense, but I'm not biting my nails, sweating, and thinking, oh my gosh, how am I possibly going to make this payment?
Sure. Would you recommend to somebody to buy? I'm trying to phrase this correctly. There's buying the house of your dreams. There's buying the car of your dreams. And then there's investing for the future. I'm guessing it's like anything else. You work before you play.
You should, yeah.
You should invest before you go out and spend the dough on the dream stuff.
I agree. So, in a lot of it depends on our experience and expectations. So, you're familiar with this guy, as most of your listeners were, from the 20th century, a guy very famous for playing baseball for the New York Yankees, Mickey Mantle.
Okay.
Mickey was a tremendously talented player. But Mickey drank a lot.
Yes, he did.
Like a lot. Mickey never had he was the first man in his family to live past the age of 40.
Yeah.
So he was living for today all the time because his dad died at 39. His dad's brothers died in their 30s. I can't remember the disease it was that ran through his family, and I think claimed one of Mickey's sons also. But that was his expectation. So having fun and spending the money now for Mickey Mantle was hugely important.
Yeah.
He never anticipated, and he died of cirrhosis or liver cancer or whatever in his early 60s. Mm-hmm. But reality was, with the genes he had been given and everything, Mickey probably should have lived to be 85 or 90.
Yeah.
But his expectation was, why should I expect to live past this? So when you're asking me, should I buy the nice things? Should I this? Should I that? There comes a point to where that money needs to serve you. And if you've got most of your ducks in a row, and it would do you and your wife enormous good to take a 10-day trip to Hawaii, you should go do it. But if you don't have your ducks in a row, and you can't afford it, you can just put on the visa and you can hopefully pay it off over the next 12 or 18 months. You probably shouldn't.
If people listen to this podcast now, they know they need to do the right thing. They think they know what the right thing is. But they can call you and you can put them on the right path.
314-684-8280. 314-684-8280. I will speak with anybody. I'm happy to talk to you. And if we want to have an in-person meeting, I'm happy to meet with you. I never charge for meeting somebody the first time.
And what's the website, Kieran?
Condra Capital, Condra, Capital, Capital, CondraCapital.com.
Yeah, and you'll talk to anybody. Do you have to be a high roller already? You have to have $1 million before they come.
You don't have to have $1 million. You could be just getting started. You could say, you can call me. My calling in life is to help people. And you can call me and say, Kieran, I don't have a dime saved yet. And I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm whatever. And I need to get going. Can I talk to you about, I'm happy to give you time.
To those of you who don't know this, please trust me when I tell you this. Not many folks will do that. Most folks will say, I need you to have X amount of money, and then we'll talk.
I will talk to you. No, I will talk to anybody. That's part of what I believe that I'm called to do by God, is to talk to people. And I'm called to help them. Now, if it gets a little silly and I've got 200 phone calls to return, it starts getting, okay. But if you're like, oh, I'm sure he'll blow me off, he won't talk to me. No, I will. Call me and we will set a time and we will talk. If you're a business owner and if you're trying to find ways to get more money out of your business, I deal with a lot of business owners, and you can show them how their business sometimes can benefit them and they can defer money from that they don't always have to defer to other employees. We should talk. If you want to make a plan and you're 22, you want to make a plan and you're 52, we should talk. 314-684-8280.
The big thing is, folks, you've got to have a plan. And when I'm sick, I go to the doctor. When my car breaks, I take it to a mechanic. If you need help with your investments, if you don't know what you're doing, and most people really don't. Most people have a decent idea, but they really don't know. You need to talk to a professional. Kieran is that professional. Condra Capital Investments. Thank you so much. Appreciate you taking the time.
James Strong, thank you so much. Pleasure to be back in the studio.
You bet. We'll have you back next time. Kieran Gutting, a member of the Midwestern International Dark Web. So you can't have this conversation with somebody from one of the coasts because, first of all, people from either coast won't talk to you unless you got a whole bunch of money. Guys from the